I thought it was just a normal evening until I saw my husband step out of a black car, with a woman holding his arm and two men watching me like I was prey. I didn't react because I already knew something about him he didn't know I knew. And when one of them said my real name, not the one he married, I realized one thing. This wasn't betrayal. It was a trap. Everyone else would have seen a quiet street, a normal house, a wife standing in her driveway at sunset, but I noticed the way the engine kept running even after they stepped out, low and steady like it was waiting for orders. And it reminded me of something from years ago, back when I still believed coincidences were harmless. The night I first met Daniel and saw him silence his phone the second I walked up, smiling like nothing happened, telling me it was work. And I believed him because I wanted to, because he had that calm voice that made lies sound reasonable. But standing there now, with the orange light sliding across the pavement and his hand resting on that woman's back like he'd practiced the gesture, I felt that same quiet pressure in my chest I'd ignored back then, that same instinct whispering that something didn't fit. Because the woman wasn't angry or guilty or nervous. She looked comfortable, like she belonged there, like she'd always belonged there. And the men beside the car weren't looking at him or her. They were watching me, measuring, patient, the way security watches exits. And that was the detail nobody else would have caught. Not the affair, not the expensive car, not even the way Daniel wouldn't meet my eyes, but the way those men stood slightly apart, weight balanced, hands loose, alert without moving, trained, which meant this wasn't emotional, it was planned. And suddenly, every small memory I'd buried started lining up. The late business trips that never showed on his company calendar, the locked drawer in his office he laughed off his boring paperwork, the time I woke at 2 a.m. and found him sitting in the dark living room staring at nothing, saying he couldn't sleep. And I remember thinking back then that insomnia doesn't make people look like they're listening for footsteps. So while the woman smiled politely and the engine hummed and the neighbor's sprinklers clicked on like nothing unusual was happening, one question kept repeating in my mind, slow and cold and impossible to ignore. Was my marriage falling apart, or was I only now seeing what it really was? And I was about to find out. At first, it was small. Just the way Daniel's jaw tightened when I stepped closer. Not fear exactly, more like calculation, the kind you see in someone solving a problem in real time. Then came the second sign, the woman's smile slipping for half a second when she looked at me, like she expected me to react differently, maybe cry or yell or beg. But I didn't. I just stood there, calm. And that's when the air changed. I could actually feel it, like pressure dropping before a storm. One of the men shifted his stance and his jacket opened slightly, just enough for me to catch the outline at his waist. Not a phone, not a wallet, something heavier, something metal. And no one else on the street noticed. Not the kid riding his bike past us, not the neighbor dragging trash bins to the curb. The whole world kept moving like nothing strange was happening. But I could see it clearly now, the spacing between them, the angles of their shoulders, the way Daniel still wouldn't look me in the eyes. This wasn't a confrontation, it was positioning. And suddenly my skin went cold because I understood the performance unfolding in front of me. They weren't here for drama, they were here for control. And the strangest part was Daniel didn't look surprised by any of it. He looked prepared, like he'd rehearsed this moment and was only waiting to see which version of me would show up, the crying wife or the problem he'd been warned about. And when one of the men finally said my real name, the one Daniel should never have known, my pulse slowed instead of racing, because confirmation can be quieter than fear. It can sound like a lock clicking open inside your head. And in that instant, I knew two things at once. This situation wasn't spontaneous, and my husband hadn't just betrayed me, he'd delivered me, and he knew exactly who I really was. But that wasn't the worst part. If you want to see what happened next, stay with me. And if you like stories that reveal what people try to hide, don't forget to like and subscribe. The moment everything broke wasn't loud. It was the soft click of a car door unlocking behind them, a tiny mechanical sound that shouldn't have mattered, but somehow sliced straight through the tension. Suddenly, people turned. Not fast, just enough. The neighbor with the trash bins paused mid-step. The kid on the bike circled back. Even the woman across the street watering her plants lowered the hose. Conversations slowed the way they do when a room senses something is off before anyone understands why. And Daniel noticed it too. I saw it in the flick of his eyes as he realized attention was drifting toward us. Not panic yet, just irritation, like a director losing control of his stage. He stepped closer and lowered his voice, told me to get in the car and stop making a scene, which was almost funny because I hadn't said a single word. But that's when one of his hired shadows reached for my arm, not violently, just enough pressure to guide me, to steer me. And that tiny movement was all it took. The watering hose shut off, the bike stopped rolling, the silence thickened, and Daniel understood the same thing I did. Control only works when no one is watching. He tried to smile, tried to play it off, told the onlookers we were just having a private disagreement, but his voice had that tight edge now, the rehearsed calm cracking at the corners. Because the scene wasn't his anymore, it belonged to the witnesses. And when I finally lifted my chin and met his eyes, really met them, he saw it, the recognition, the shift, the exact second I stopped being the wife he thought he'd cornered and became the woman he should have been afraid of all along. And in that look, we both understood the same truth. His plan hadn't trapped me, it had exposed him. If you want to see what happened after that moment, stay with me. And if you like stories that reveal secrets unravel in real time, don't forget to like and subscribe. That's when I realized something most people never learn until it's too late. Evil doesn't crumble when you fight it. It crumbles when you expose it. The second everyone saw him the way I did, his confidence drained, his voice shrank, and that power he thought he had over me slipped straight through his fingers. Justice didn't arrive with sirens or shouting. It arrived quietly, in the way the room turned against him without a single word from me. And in that moment, I understood. I was never the weak one. He just needed me to believe I was. If you felt that shift with me, make sure you like and subscribe, because what comes next only gets deeper. To everyone else, it was just a strange night, something they'd probably forget by morning. But to me, it was the moment I learned the truth, that fear only controls you until you look it straight in the eye, and once you do, it's the one that starts shaking. And honestly, I'd go through every second of it again just to watch that exact look in his eyes the second he realized I wasn't scared anymore. If you want to see what happened next, stay with me. And if you like stories that reveal what people try to hide, don't forget to like and subscribe.